March 1945.
The Rhine falls. Germany's last shield crumbles. Commanders faced impossible choices: defend or retreat. Hitler demanded victory. Reality offered none. One bridge changed everything. 6 officers paid the ultimate price. What desperate weapon did they unleash? Their reactions revealed the Reich's final truth. Initial fury and retaliation. Remagen, March 7, 1945. American soldiers stood at the edge of the Ludendorff Bridge at Remagen. They couldn't believe what they saw: an intact bridge across the Rhine. Every other crossing had been destroyed by retreating forces, but this one stood firm. Within hours, Allied troops poured across. Germany's last natural barrier was breached. Back at headquarters, news reached the high command. The reaction was immediate and explosive. This wasn't supposed to happen. The bridge should have been eliminated before enemy boots touched the western side. Now the impossible had occurred. The gateway to Germany's heartland lay wide open. German commanders scrambled to assess the damage. How did this happen? Who was responsible? The questions came fast, but answers were slow. What happened next would shock everyone involved. The response from the top would be swift, brutal, and unforgiving. One bridge had changed the entire course of the final months, but the real storm was just beginning. What punishment awaited those deemed responsible? Hitler's rage. When the news reached Hitler's bunker, his fury knew no limits. Aides described him as shaking with anger. He screamed orders. He demanded explanations. How could one bridge remain standing when all others had fallen? This was unacceptable. This was betrayal. Hitler refused to accept military realities. He didn't want to hear about exhausted troops or broken supply lines. He wanted results. He wanted the bridge destroyed immediately. No excuses, no delays. Every available weapon had to be turned toward Remagen. Infantry units were ordered to attack. Artillery batteries received new coordinates. Even Germany's most advanced technology would be thrown into the fight. Jet aircraft and some of the fastest planes in the world were redirected to hit the bridge. But that wasn't enough. Hitler went further. He authorized the use of V-2 rockets, the same superweapons that had terrorized London. Now they would target a single bridge. The orders were clear: eliminate that crossing point by any means necessary. But would these desperate measures work in time? Executions. 6 officers paid the ultimate price. Hitler needed someone to blame. 6 officers were identified as responsible for the bridge's capture. They had failed in their duty. They had let the enemy cross. In Hitler's eyes, this was treason. There would be consequences. Within days, these officers faced a military court. The trial was swift. The verdict was already decided: guilty. The punishment, the harshest possible. All 6 were sentenced to elimination. No appeals, no mercy, no second chances. This wasn't about justice. This was about sending a message. Every commander across Germany would learn what happened when you failed the Reich. Fear became a weapon. Officers who might have considered retreat or surrender now knew the price. Their own leadership posed as much danger as the enemy. These executions revealed something darker. The German command structure was turning on itself. Instead of fighting the Allies, resources and attention went to punishing their own. The machine was breaking down from within. Meanwhile, at Remagen, the real battle was just heating up. Desperate attacks. What desperate weapon did they unleash? German forces threw everything at the bridge. Artillery shells rained down day and night. The bridge shook with each impact.
Jet aircraft screamed overhead, dropping their payloads. Engineers calculated angles, gunners adjusted their aim. The assault was relentless. Then came the V-2 rockets, Hitler's secret superweapon. These massive projectiles had once struck fear across England. Now they targeted a single bridge in Germany. Multiple rockets were launched. The technology was advanced, but accuracy remained a problem. Some missed entirely. Others landed close, but didn't destroy the structure. For 10 days, the bridge endured constant attack. Allied engineers worked frantically to keep it standing. German forces attacked from every direction. The bombardment was intense. Finally, on March 17th, the bridge collapsed, not from enemy fire, but from the damage it had sustained. But it was too late. By then, Allied engineers had built multiple temporary crossings. Thousands of troops had already poured across. The bridgehead was secure. The desperate attacks had failed. As Remagen fell, larger crossings were being planned elsewhere. Overwhelmed forces. By late March, Operation Plunder began. This was the main Allied crossing, bigger, stronger, and unstoppable. German forces watched as the largest military operation assembled across from them. They knew what was coming. They knew they couldn't stop it. Units like the 1st Parachute Army stood in defensive positions. These had once been elite troops. Now they were shadows of their former strength. Months of fighting had taken their toll. Soldiers were exhausted. Equipment was scarce. Ammunition ran low. Replacements never arrived. Across the river, Allied forces gathered in overwhelming numbers. Tanks lined up by the hundreds. Artillery pieces outnumbered German guns 10-1. Aircraft filled the skies. The Luftwaffe was nowhere to be seen. The imbalance was obvious to everyone on the ground. German commanders looked at their forces and then at what approached. The math was simple and brutal. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and out of options. Some still prepared to fight. Others began making different calculations. What would they choose? A hopeless fight or something else?
Strategic retreat. Faced with impossible odds, many German commanders made a choice. They would not throw away lives in a battle they couldn't win. Orders went out quietly. Pull back. Withdraw northeast. Head toward Hamburg and Bremen. Preserve what forces remain. This wasn't surrender, not yet. This was tactical reality. If they stayed and fought at the Rhine, they would be destroyed completely. If they withdrew, they might regroup. They might fight another day. Or they might simply survive what came next. As units pulled back, gaps appeared in the defensive lines. Towns and villages that should have been defended were left empty. Allied forces advancing across the river met lighter resistance than expected. Some areas saw no fighting at all. This strategic retreat revealed a deeper truth. The unified German command was fracturing. Some officers followed Hitler's orders to fight to the last. Others followed their own judgment. The war had reached a point where survival mattered more than ideology. Personal decisions replaced centralized command. But not all commanders accepted this reality yet. Recognition of defeat. High-ranking officers began speaking the unspoken truth. General Günther Blumentritt looked at situation reports and saw no path forward. General Oberst Johannes Blaskowitz reviewed his forces and reached the same conclusion. The situation was hopeless. They had no reserves to call upon. Every available unit was already committed. Artillery ammunition was critically low. The Luftwaffe, once masters of the sky, could barely put up any aircraft. Tank divisions existed on paper but not in reality. Fuel shortages meant even operational vehicles couldn't move. These generals had fought across Europe. They understood military strategy. They could read a battlefield, and everything they saw told them the same story. Germany had lost. The Rhine crossing wasn't just a tactical defeat, it was the final proof that continuation of fighting only meant more destruction. Some tried to communicate this to higher command,
Messages were sent, reports were filed, but Berlin wasn't listening. Hitler still demanded victory. Reality and leadership had completely separated. On the ground, the situation grew more chaotic by the hour. Fragmented command and civilian surrender. One bridge changed everything. The German command structure, once efficient and feared, had broken down completely. Orders from different headquarters contradicted each other. Communication networks failed. Officers couldn't reach their superiors. Units operated independently, making their own decisions. As Allied forces advanced into German towns, something unexpected happened. White flags appeared in windows. Local commanders, sometimes just junior officers, made the decision to surrender their areas. They saw no point in fighting. The war was over in everything but official announcement. Civilians, tired of years of conflict, welcomed the end. Resistance was rare. Most people simply wanted to survive. The average citizen cared more that the fighting would stop than who won. Town after town fell without significant combat. The Remagen bridge had indeed changed everything. That one crossing had opened the floodgates, literally and figuratively. What followed wasn't a coordinated defense of the homeland, it was a fragmented collapse. German commanders, faced with impossible choices, reacted in different ways, but the outcome was the same. The Reich's final days had begun. The reactions of Germany's commanders, from rage to resignation, marked the end of the Third Reich. The Remagen bridge capture marked the beginning of the end. When the Allies crossed the Rhine in March 1945, German commanders faced their darkest hour. Hitler's rage couldn't change reality. The Rhine crossing in WWII shattered Germany's final defense. From fury to surrender, the German reaction to the Rhine breach revealed a military machine collapsing from within. One bridge, 10 days, the fate of a nation sealed. This was how the Third Reich's last barrier fell, and with it, any hope of victory.